At first, we made good progress, but eventually poor Persis began to tire. Every branch that reached for us fell victim to her sharp blade, but the violent shudders it sent up her arms when the axe fell were exhausting her. Her face was flushed and sweat poured from her. She was starting to slow down. I tried to take the axe from her. "Let's take it in turns," I said. She shook her head. "It won't work, Brina. You're Rapunzel. You're a princess. It's me that has to do this. I'm the one who's the woodcutter's daughter." It sounded ridiculous, but in Delphinia it was the kind of logic that made sense. So Olive and I huddled behind Persis as she chopped and hacked. Every time a tree grabbed my hair with its hand-like twigs, Persis rescued me by splitting the tree's branch in half. She was staggering with fatigue by the time that I caught a glimpse of yellow ahead of us. "The path!" I screamed. "It's just there! The path! It's too wide for the trees to get us!" My words gave Persis the final burst of energy that she needed. She surged forward, burst out from between two shrubs, and collapsed in the centre of the path. Olive and I huddled over her. "Whoa, you were amazing," I told her. She managed a feeble smile. "Yeah, I totally was, wasn't I?" I gave her a few minutes to recover and helped her cool down by fanning her with some of my hair. Olive had taken the hatchet and stood on guard, watching for anything that might move from the leafy forest floor to the hard, gritty path. She brandished it at one tree that moved its roots onto the crushed stone, and I saw it flinch and pull back. "Guys," she said, "I think we're safe as long as we stay on the path. The trees don't seem to like how the stones feel." This was good to know, especially as we had to keep going. It had become darker and colder, and we still had to find Rory and Clyde. I held out an arm, and Persis used it to pull herself up. "We need to keep going." "I'm so sorry, you must be pooped," I said. She nodded. "I'll be okay," she began, but was interrupted by a loud rattling of dried branches and leaves. That sound was then sliced by a scream. It was Rory's voice, and he sounded terrified. We began to run, bumping into each other and pushing one another out of the way in sheer panic. I could hear crashing sounds and more shrieking and yelling. I increased my pace. After 5 hard minutes, sprinting became painful. My lungs were burning and my legs quivered with fatigue. Persis and Olive couldn't keep up and fell behind. I was running so fast I got a stitch in my side and I wanted to be sick. The sweets and gingerbread were sloshing around in my stomach as if they wanted to come back up again. I didn't realise it, but I was crying. Tears were flying from my eyes as I ran. Up ahead, I saw a terrible sight. Clyde was standing by a huge tree, and caught up in its branches high up in the air was my little brother. Rory screamed and writhed and wriggled, his face crimson. I ran to the tree and began to thump its broad trunk, shrieking at it to let go of him. Persis and Olive caught up with me, and Persis raised her axe once more, bringing it down with a great juddering blow and embedding it deep into the bark. The tree flung its branches upwards, and Rory fell downward, landing on his back on a pile of ferns and moss. He sprang to his feet and glared at me. "Hey, leave Russell alone," he yelled. His fists were on his hips and his chin was jutting out. "Are you okay?" I asked as I bent to check him over. He shoved me aside. "Of course I'm okay," he said crossly. "Are you okay, Russell?" He turned his back on me and looked at the tree. It was huge. It was easily the largest we'd seen in the whole of Scary Forest. It shook its leaves and twisted its trunk so that the knots in its bark became cross-eyed, looking down at the axe which was buried where its nose would be. Rory stood across and tried to pull it out. "Ouch! That hurts," a deep, growly voice rumbled. Persis stepped up and flicked the axe out. I guess you have to do it fast, like pulling off a band-aid," she commented. She was taking this way better than me. "I don't understand what's going on. Wasn't that tree attacking you?" I demanded. "Not all trees in Scary Forest are under the control of witchy woo," Russell growled. "For some of us, our bark is worse than our bite." Oh great, a talking tree that liked puns. "So why were you screaming?" I asked Rory. He started to giggle again with the memory. "Russell was tickling me," he said. "He's great, isn't he?" added, staring adoringly at the tree. "He wants to branch out into stand-up comedy." Russell made a strange noise that could have been laughter. A laughing tree? Could this day get any weirder, I wondered? Then Olive joined in. "Oh, I think I've twigged now. Russell's a good tree, but we should leave those other trees alone. Yes, that would be a good idea, added Persis. Really? Was I the only person with even a little common sense? I sighed. I just wanted all of this to be over. So what happened to you? I asked. Russell saved my life, Rory replied.